cannot stand here.
You can.
I mean, you said it's going to block the...
Where do you prefer to stand? And
I'll
move this.
move
How about that?
around.
So then,
that's what
there you
I'm
go.
saying.
So that way, if you're at your computer, then...
Ladies, if you're coming in, make sure you see Gloria for a ticket, for a raffle ticket, okay? If you didn't get one. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I cannot tell you how excited I am to see people actually in here with all the great sessions that I saw on the program agenda. You had lots of choices, so I'm very honored by your time and presence today. I think I know most of you, a good many of you, but for those of you who I've not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Ida Thompson. I am a lover of SCASL, a former two-time president, and just I'm excited about what this organization is continuing to do. I am retired on paper since 2016, but I love being involved and giving back and helping where I can. And so today, I wanted to share with you just some things that probably I know you may already know, but just kind of putting them in some context of where we are today when it comes to the status of libraries and how we fit in and how we can manage and continue to navigate. I've heard so many exciting things just in the last couple of days, and I was just blown away by all of the honors that I heard at the luncheon, all of your colleagues who are being recognized for the tremendous work they're doing. And I know you're doing it too. You're just too bashful to toot your own horn. But really you are doing great work, and with that great work comes great sacrifice sometimes. And when we're in the midst of things, sometimes we don't necessarily attend to ourselves in ways that are important and meaningful. And so I hope this session will give you a little uplift today and give you a little more energy as you go back to your respective school settings and work with your students, your staff, and your communities. And so I titled this session, Mind, Body, Soul, Caring for Self and Serving with Passion. And because I think all of those things are important, particularly today. So we're going to go through this, and listen, guys, you all know me. Stop me, interject, raise your hand, whatever, because we're just talking. We're family. We're just interacting with each other today, okay? Is that all right? Yes. Okay, all right, very good then. And so what we want to do today, I want to remain true to the session objectives that I submitted to the committee. We want to talk a little bit about our profession in terms of its overall status. What does the library profession look like today? And then talk about some coping strategies, because I know things have escalated since I left my position, since I retired. I can't even say that, but let me stop saying retired. Since I stopped working for a paycheck. But then how we can simplify our lives a little bit as we continue to do all the great work that you are called to do as librarians, and how you can stay passionate about that work. Because that can wane over time if you're not taking care of yourself and attending to those things that got you in the profession in the beginning. So this is the official description that I submitted to the committee, and I just wanted to underline that sentence there. This session will focus on strategies that uplift both the physical, emotional, and the psychological preparedness to enjoy your work and to celebrate being a librarian. Because let me tell you, there is no better job in all the world. You all should be walking around with crowns on your heads, because you guys are really super, super, super special. And I know many of you live up to that every day, but it takes a lot to have that crown bobbling around on your head up there, right? Yeah, it takes a lot, but it takes a special person to be able to do that. And so we want to talk about some of those things today. So let's start with an overview of the profession. When we look at the numbers of librarians, and I've been looking all over all the data and digging into it, there are quite a bit of us. There are a lot of us around, okay? Now, this data is probably a year and a half behind, because you know how data collection is. It's not up to the minute. But I think this gives us a pretty good snapshot of the numbers of librarians that there are in this country. There are a lot of us, and we serve in all kinds of libraries and all kinds of situations. This is from some recent ALA data. And this is the number of paid library staff. in the United States. So then when we dig a little deeper about how we are perceived as librarians, I think this is important. And of course, this was a study that was initiated by the Maine State Library. But you can see librarians right near the top, right behind nurses, okay? And so that's pretty interesting to me, because people have a positive perception of us. They trust us. This was about the trustworthiness of professions. I thought it was real funny that accountants and funeral directors were at the bottom. Who doesn't trust their funeral director, for God's sake? But look where the clergy even fall. You know, I said, my God, is this right? The clergy is down there with funeral directors? Do they have something going on? Something's happening there. But look, we're near the top in terms of how people feel when it comes to trust. And it's borne out by this study from the Pew Research Center, which validates what we just saw on the previous slide. Local public library or librarians are at the top. So people feel good about who we are as professionals. And so that's something positive. So you can lift that head a little bit higher because people value what we do and they trust us. Now, we're going to put all of that into context, okay, as we move forward. But I think it's important for you to see this kind of data and understand that it is out there, okay? And these are not studies done by some fly-by-the-night. This is the Pew Research Center. Okay, so this site, I kind of got lost in it because there's just so much in this site. This is from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and I was drilling down, looking at all of these maps and all of this data about librarians and libraries in this state. It's really very interesting, and you can go to that website and pull it up. And here again, they last updated this actually a year ago, so I'm sure the new data will be coming out very soon. But I thought it was very interesting when you look at the top paying states for librarians. District of Columbia, Washington State, California, Maryland, and New York. Interesting, isn't it? Why do you think District of Columbia might be at the top? The center of our country's government is in Washington, D.C., is it not? Absolutely. Now, when you look at this particular, and I just did screenshots of these because I didn't know about the internet in here, so I just thought this would be a safer way to share what we want to talk about today. When you look at the metropolitan areas for librarians, let's look at these rankings and see if you can figure out why this might be the case. Seattle, Tacoma, San Francisco, Oakland, Hayward, Kennewick, Richland, which is in Washington State, San Jose, Olympia, Washington. You hear a trend there? Anaheim, Bellingham, Washington, Bremerton, Washington. What's going on there?
Cost of living. The tech companies.
Absolutely, the tech companies. Where's Starbucks and where's Google and where's Microsoft and all these things. So look at this. This is really interesting. So we see a strong parallel here between these metropolitan areas for librarians and their rankings. And so I think that's what contributes to this data, because 90% of these are in the state of Washington. Okay, then when we look at the metropolitan areas with the highest employment levels of librarians, this is pretty dense over here. We can find our little state right over here. So we value libraries in the South, despite what some people think. And so, you know, when you look at the data, we don't rank as high as some other areas, but, you know, we have a pretty decent showing there. So when you go to that site, you can drill down and look at all of the maps. I mean, they have it broken down by so many different categories. And I think it's really interesting to first understand this is a big overview of our profession. So I think we're in good status overall when it comes to our profession. States with the highest employment level in librarians. You've got New York at the top, Texas, California, Florida, Illinois. Not surprising, I think, that we see some of the larger states there. But this data is broken down in so many different ways. So if you have an opportunity, or if you're so inclined, go to that U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics site, and you can see even more information there. When we think then about employment, we saw some of the data about employment. But in looking at the Occupational Outlook Handbook, in terms of librarians and where we stand and all of these categories, and we agree with this, the master's degree level, that's the entry level, the salary, okay, it could be better, right? Yeah, but we're better than some other professions. One of the things I found real interesting in looking at all of this was the job outlook as we move forward. This is their estimate, a 6% change. That means in growth in libraries and librarians. I thought that was very interesting. And then, of course, this was the one I really wanted to try to find more about, the employment change. So is that a positive or a negative change? They're anticipating an $8,000 individuals changing the profession. I think that in terms of growth, I really believe that's what the Occupational Outlook Handbook is saying to us. And so with that understanding, I just captured from some different websites who's looking for librarians. Our state library, here's one from Berkeley County, here's one from Spartanburg County. So people are looking for librarians. Jobs are available, jobs are out there. Our library school is constantly recruiting. They held an event the other night online. So people like us, they trust us, and there's growth opportunity, okay? So we can stick our chest out about that. We're in pretty good shape when it comes to our job outlook. When we take a bigger look at our profession, as we read through the data and look at it and all the studies and all the information coming out, the literature certainly documents where we are. And most recently it's been focused on the burnout. All of these challenges that we're having to deal with. And I'm sure you all read your most recent edition of American Libraries. And I thought this was a real interesting cover, 3 years later, how the pandemic has reshaped libraries. If you haven't had a chance to read it, I suggest that you do that. You'll find some interesting articles there. And so we've got all of these sources to help with this, all of this anxiety, all of these issues that we're having to deal with. Conferences like this that offer sessions like this. You've got a lot of stuff here packed into this conference about the technology innovations, all the good stuff, cool stuff you can do, our collections, all of this great stuff. But sessions like this to kind of massage us, I think, are critically important as well. And then, of course, you see all of these. I've never seen so many advertisements for connect with an online counselor. For a small amount, you can talk directly to a counselor anytime it's convenient for you. I've never seen an explosion of all of these online help sites, where you can talk to a counselor and all of this kind of stuff. But as we see things happen in our community, and Sharman said it earlier, the mental health of people has really come to the forefront. It's just rocketed to the forefront. And every day we pick up the paper or turn on the news or read another blog or news story. It's something tragic that somebody who was having an issue didn't know how to deal with it and did something awful. Like the thing in Sumter the other day. My heart just sank. So, there is definitely a need for some kind of help and support to make sure that people are in a good place. Okay? Would you agree with that? And our students, we don't know how this stuff, when you all are right there in the thick of it, because you're with the young people. I only see them when they're getting off the school bus and cutting through my yard. But even so, I say, I hope you had a good day at school today. How things go today at school? And by the way, don't cut through my yard. Use the street. But we have to really have the connections with our young people, because I'm going to tell you, they are struggling. They are dealing with issues that we never imagined. And you guys are right there with them. And the library has always been that space where they could feel like themselves. They could let their hair down. They could get support. They could get a smile. They could get something that would make them feel good about being in that building. And I know that you're filling that gap for them. So please continue to do it because it's so important. But when we ask ourselves the question, because we are seeing an exodus, are we not? Of educators generally. And of course, we're in that group too. People are leaving the profession. Common reasons. This is according to ALA, just June a year ago. Major reasons: burnout, frustration, low pay, low morale. These are some of the major issues that our colleagues are experiencing, and they're opting to do other things, either leave the profession altogether or take another career path. And I think it's indicative, as we know, of education generally. So what are the reasons for it? What's causing, all of this exodus? What's causing all of this? Well, we just saw the American libraries focus on the pandemic. And it was a game changer, was it not? I've never had so much Lysol in my house. I'm serious. And you guys are out there, and I was thinking every day, how are they managing? Y'all had to pivot like that and go to virtual schools. I mean, just on a dime, you had to make that transition. And you were at the core of that. You had to make it happen. And so I guess if we were going to outline this, I should have put COVID-19 in big, big, big letters and these others as little subheadings under it. But we saw this national move, this great resignation. People were leaving their jobs, and I kept asking my husband, how are they doing that? Where are they going? What are they doing? How can you just leave your job? But we saw it. We saw a lot of people working at home who've never worked at home before. That required a whole different support system and mindset. Organizational issues are still impacting our profession. And you all struggle with some of those today. Do I have adequate budget? Do I have adequate staffing? All these things that, we can go down the list. And then, as I said, the COVID, the pandemic just exasperated all of that. Okay, and brought these things to light. And people started to reevaluate, you know what? My family is more important than this job. I'm going home. Let them figure it out. And that was across the board. Now we're seeing this trend kind of slowly tilting back. And some of those people who resigned on Twitter and on Facebook, now they're going back and saying, is the door still open? I need to kind of reevaluate this whole thing. But, all of this, it really made our nation look at itself in a different way, a way that we had never imagined before. And you guys were out there really providing services. So let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Yeah, he's in the room. This organization, Poets, Essays, and Novelists of America. I never heard of that group until I started doing the research for this. But their most recent data that was published, that was June a year ago, estimated over 2,500 book challenges. And then, of course, from ALA's Office of Intellectual Freedom, their numbers are a little bit different. This is documented, this is the key, that they documented 681 attempts to ban or restrict library resources. And you can see the number of unique titles. And of course, these numbers have escalated since this August a year ago. So this is the big thing for us right now. And I have to commend SCASL and the leadership for the work they have done this year. I've been following it very closely, and I really commend them for their leadership in talking to the right people and really being out there and providing the information that's needed to help others who are not like us to understand our jobs and why we do what we do. So we know the powers that be, if you will. I'm talking about ALA and all of our other literacy and education organizations, knowing versus doing something about it. And I think that's where most of you are. Okay, so how can we fix this? What can we do to get around this issue? How are we going to deal with it? How are these organizational issues being addressed? And how are we going to recruit in this kind of environment? Okay, what's working for us? What isn't? How can you, it's just like the teachers. How can you, I was telling one of my friends, I'm in my retired status, I'm president of the retired educators. Isn't that ironic? retired educators in Richland County. And for the last 3 years, ladies, we have not been able to get our scholarships. Because our scholarships are there to support individuals who are interested in a teaching profession. We haven't awarded a scholarship in 3 years. So I think it does say that we have a lot of work to do. And then, are we using our agency and our influence to impact the problem? Because you guys are very powerful. As I said earlier, I think SCASL is doing a great job. So I'm going to get you to do something real quick for me. Can I get 2 volunteers to hand these out for me? Okay. On this little sheet that you're going to get, I want you to, it's like a little bingo card. I want you to circle anything on there that you see in your life and work as a positive, and put an X on anything you see as a negative. Circle it if you see it as a positive, not what your girlfriend or your next door neighbor, but in your own life. If you see it as a positive, circle it. If you see it as a negative, exit out. Okay? Everybody get a copy? Okay. Somebody's chuckling. Jackie, what's got your funny bone? We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it in a minute. Take a minute. You may not have the same card as the person next to you, so don't compare. Just do your own. Circle it if you see it as a positive, or if it's something that's true for you. Exit out if you see it as a negative. And when I say a negative, something that may give you stress or concern or, okay? So I'm using that word negative real broadly. Can it be both? You know, yes, absolutely. It could be. It could be, yeah.
What you say, has children at home.
It could be. It's how you perceive it to be. It's how you perceive it to be.
I know. Been there, but done that. And mine only stays a week, so what can I say?
Don't y'all go to sleep on me in here now. I know y'all had a long day. Does anybody need a pen or something to write with? The circle with? You good? Okay, everybody about done?
Yeah, if it doesn't apply to you,
Just skip it.
just skip it.
Okay, count your circles. Those are your positive things. Just jot that number down somewhere. Okay, do the same thing with your negatives. Count your negatives. Things you X out. Things that give you problems, stress, or concern, and issues. Okay. How many had more positives than negatives? Okay. Very good, very good, very good. What was your highest number of negatives? Only two. Two. 5. 5. 4.
glad I had more positive than I had negative.
Okay, so I wanted you to do this little exercise because a lot of times in the doing, we kind of lose sight of what we're doing. And we may not realize, that I really need to pull away from these things over here because I really do have some good things going on over here. If you could look at your sheet and tell me, what was one of the things that you were most engaged about on your positive side? Just shout them out.
Lots of sleep.
Lots of sleep. You get 8 hours of sleep a night? Girl, how do you do it?
She drinks tea.
She said something real important. Turn off the television and turn off the phone, because y'all know what that blue light does to you, right? And I know that. And I cannot go to sleep unless I watch Jessica Fletcher, Murder, She Wrote. You know, just not watching Jessica. Me too. And then my husband asked me in the morning, what did Jessica do? Who did it? Who did it? I said, well, you should have stayed up and watched it. But we know that blue light is detrimental, and getting plenty of rest. Because you guys are on your feet all the time, you're going, you got these big buildings, you got to navigate, you're walking all over the place, you're doing all this stuff. So your rest is very important. Who had another, what's one of your big positives? Yes. She took a vacation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta do that, folks. And we're gonna talk about that. I have a slide about that later. What else?
Has children.
Pam? Okay.
Read three little pleasure.
I'm always gonna read.
Reading for pleasure. Oh, it's just something so satisfying, being able to lose yourself in a good book. Yeah, that's really good. That's one of my favorites too. And John, what did you say?
Has children are very.
Okay, she says that's her positive because our children give us so much pleasure, don't they? They're at their school activities, at community activities, yelling at the baseball game, the soccer game, or the cheerleading thing, whatever. Yeah, and just spending time with your kids. Yeah, that's a good release as well. Anything else anybody like to share on your positives? Yes.
As student assistant.
Yes. Listen, you cannot underestimate these young people. They are awesome. I was so proud of the students who were recognized at the lunch. I said, my God, these kids need to go to library school. I told the people that they need to get them in library school. But use your students. They're smart. They're creative. They want to help. They want to be involved. They're looking for a cause. And that in turn empowers them. Anything else on the positive side you want to shout out? Yes, Shawn.
Volunteer in community events, which includes my church.
Yes.
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 I just hear my mom's head in her voice in my head. She would say, when you're having a pity party, get out yourself and do something for somebody.
Do something for somebody else. Absolutely. It is so important. I know you have jam-packed lives, but if you could just do something sometime, you not something you have to do every day. Like me, I have time. I can, wrap up all these things I'm doing right now because I have the time to do it. And I can choose to do it or not do it. But it empowers you when you can give back. Absolutely. Anything else before we move to the challenge side? Okay, look at your X's. What is one you'd like to shout out?
Has missed several days to work due to illness.
Have you worked when you're sick?
Well, no, it says has missed several work days.
Oh, has missed several work days.
So for somebody who went through 2 surgeries last year and didn't plan on that, it's hard to come back and get
Yeah.
right back into swing of things.
Yeah, because our job is a physical job, like it or not. I remember when I had my first shoulder surgery, my surgeon stopped out and said, "Oh, what have you been doing to mess up this arm?" I said, "Child, how many 16 millimeters have you lifted over your lifetime?" Computers and all these things. So our job is stressful. It does wear on us physically if we don't attend to and take care of our bodies. Yes.
Services of school tech.
I'm sorry. Oh, shoot. I was
Yeah.
waiting for somebody to get mine. I know that's where most of y'all are living right now.
I put that
Right?
as a positive for me.
That's a positive. Because, yeah, and like we said earlier, for you it might be a positive, somebody else is not, because you don't get to do your job, because you're trying to fix stuff. That's not, I didn't go to school, get a degree, I have to take it.
I say that all the time. I did not go to school to do this.
Yes, absolutely, and that's very stressful. Let's go back to the pandemic. Everybody had to go virtual, y'all got all these devices, everybody. Oh, it's a mess, isn't it? This is just, yes.
I look at like not having an assistant, which most schools don't, but you know, that's a lot of work on one person.
It really is. And ladies, I'm gonna say this to you. See where you can find that help. If your district is not smart enough to recognize that you need the help, what groups in your community can you get to come in and volunteer? You know, there are a lot of retirees out there who are smart and who have the skill set. Yeah, try to find groups at the Lions Club or all these ladies clubs and all these organizations. These people are out there and they need something to do. So perhaps that's something you can put out an all-call for parent volunteers, even if they can come in and just show books or do just whatever. It's something you don't have to do. If you can get someone else in there, an extra pair of hands. Invite your principal to come down and be you for a day. I'm serious. And my Richard One people know years ago they were required. They had to sub at least 2 days a year in somebody's classroom. So that's just a reflective activity for you. But this is what I want to suggest to you. Stop trying to be Superwoman. Take off that mask. Yeah, because you're juggling all these things. Job, social things, homes, all this stuff. And so I know we all suffer from the Superwoman syndrome. We don't have to be Superwoman. We know we're good without the cape, okay? Because we know the things that we do. But we do it because we're so service-oriented. We care about the job we do. We care about the people that we're interacting with. And so I was just in Orangeburg the other week, we're doing a presentation, and this was one of the pieces of it, the 6 signs of a Superwoman syndrome. Hard to say no, you put others before you, you're constantly stretching yourself to do everything, you have a need to appear like, I can handle this, I've got it, I can do it. I'm a librarian after all, I can do anything, right? You feel like a failure because you aren't doing everything perfectly. And ladies, it doesn't have to be perfect. Because the first thing you're going to do is going to be almost good enough. You can keep tweaking it next time, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And you get those physical symptoms. We talked about that when Dawn was speaking, from the stress and the worry and all of that anxiety. So how are we to cope? Look at all the words on that stress ball. And I was trying to find some stress balls to bring you all, but I couldn't find what I was looking for. But yes, we have to cope with all of this. Face reality. I hope this thing is on. Okay. Job stress is real. We see people doing things all the time because of the stress. In many instances, they're hurting themselves or they're hurting someone else because they are so stressed and they don't know how to deal with it. It's a serious mental concern that we have. We talked about dropping that Superwoman mask, okay? And here's one, declutter your life. That means of both people and of things. There's some people, you just got to put them on the shelf for a while. Okay, and there's some things that you need to let go of. Not necessarily your collections and those types of things, but other things. Maybe you can't do the neighborhood newsletter, or you can't, be on every committee at the church, or you can't, be the soccer mom, every year. Some things you may have to look at critically and declutter your life for a time until you feel that you can go back and you're renewed and you can handle those things because you're worth it. You are important. Like Viola Davis said at the end of that movie, The Help to the Little Girl. You are kind, you are smart, you are important. And that applies to you as well. So we're going to start today with that. And this is another graphic. This gives you some things that you can do as you're trying to move from that stressful pressure cooker type environment to a more calm space where you can have time to think and reflect. Because many times we're moving so fast, we it's like a human calculator. You're just going, doing, and you're not even taking the time to process and think about it. You're just on go all the time. Everybody can't be on go all the time. Because when we do, we know our bodies are going to tell us something isn't right. And I had on one of these cards, did you get your annual physical? Okay, don't put those things on. And we hear stories all the time about people, oh, I didn't even know. So don't neglect yourself because you are important. Now, those of you who have deep pockets, deeper than mine, you can probably do some of these things. But I want to do the MacGyver kind of thing when it comes to how I can take care of myself and some things I want to suggest to you. Oh, if you have a gym membership and you can carve out time to go do it, take care of it. But most people, because every time the commercial comes on, I say, there's a gym right down the street. I said, I know I'm not going to a gym. So ain't no point in me, there is no point in me fooling myself to think I'm going to do that. But I can walk in my neighborhood. And that doesn't cost me anything. You see? Yes, Tim.
Paid for the membership, hadn't been yet.
See?
In January, my $10 is coming out.
Come on, every month. I saw the same one. I said,
I said January with $49. Haven't
been yet. See?
Haven't been.
But you can walk in your neighborhood though. All these professional counselors that we talked about that you can go online, you know, but they cost. All of these support services, acupuncturists, medications, drugs, all these things we can do, but they cost. But there are things that we can do that don't necessarily cost us anything, like meditation, having a quiet moment, a nice candle burning, the dim light, something just to settle you down and calm you down. Exercise we were just talking about. And I saw a story in the Today Show the other day about breathing, how important. Deep, come on ladies. One more time. That deep breathing is so good, and it doesn't cost you anything. Gets all that stale air out and kind of renews things. You know, when your kids are coming in, they have a hissy fit, they just blow in their face. You know, that's what you do for babies when they're just, they can't be with that and cry at the same time. Exactly. So breathing is important, and we already talked about our friend over here. She already told us how important it is to turn the TV and the cell phone off and get your sleep, get your rest. Yes, Pam.
I was gonna say, speaking of turning things off, one thing my therapist suggested, and I tried it and it worked, was having like 2 hours of screen free time that she said every day. So mine was like, you know, when I get home, whatever, 4 to 6, you put the phone down, put it away, whatever it is, don't put it on the screen, and just do other things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that,
Yeah. No phones at the dinner table. You know, things like that. You have to disconnect yourself from this stuff. Sometimes it'll drive you crazy. And I'm on one thing with the group, and I said, what? These people don't have anything else to do. And I just silence that stuff. I don't beat me every 10 seconds. You know, what? You don't have anything else going on in your life? Yes, Jack.
When I get home, I'll be my daughter said, I got 30 minutes. 30 minutes. And she knows how to come home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I sit for 30 minutes, no TV, no
Mhm.
phone. But I
Just to
do
relax and decompress. Absolutely. And that's right. Before my mom passed, you know, I was leaving her home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I worked all day. You know, I was tired physically. I was tired mentally. I mean, all these emotions. And when I would get home in the garage, I would just sit in the garage for about 10 minutes, just to calm myself down and, you know, just kind of let it all go before, you know, I went in the house because my husband was fast asleep. But still, I needed that time. That's the only time, that's the only space where I could be by myself, you know. And so all these are good suggestions, and they really are very, very important. Spending time in nature, outside, yeah, the sunshine, the fresh air, music. Pam talked about the reading always, and we're readers, of course. Talking with a trusted friend, and adjusting the lighting. Lighting is important too. And I mentioned burning aromatic candle. You're in your space all the time, in your libraries, and if you have windows, that's great. Sometimes just dimming lights, turning different lights off, it changes the atmosphere altogether. Somebody just did something on I think it was WLTX the other day. Manage your time, which a lot of times we feel like other people are managing our time. But try to get a handle on how your time is used. I can't do it today, but it's on my list for tomorrow or Wednesday. And thinking positively. That's really a big, big step. Yeah, we have challenges, the problems all day long. I don't care where you work or who you are. But thinking positively about those things can also be a big help. I found this quote by Joyce Meyer. She says, "You cannot have a positive life and a negative mind." So let's fill our minds with positive thoughts, positive things. Yeah, he's a jerk, but you know what? He tells good jokes. You know, whatever. Try to think positively. And we talked about the deep breathing, how important that is, and how it helps that diaphragm and gets that job of helping you to breathe better. We talked about this walking, just a few minutes. You know, and when I was putting this together, it reminded me of one of our district. He was an assistant superintendent, and I would always see him on the phone, but he'd be walking around the building. And he said to me, he said, "That's how I, help myself to decompress. Yeah, I'm still dealing with problems, but I'm outside. I'm walking around the building. I'm walking around the block." And so find little ways like that. And then, of course, this is what I want to talk to you about. When we think about all the things that can help us, numerous studies have shown that a variety of teas have such an impact, can have such an impact on your life, your immune system, inflammation, which causes all kinds of problems, our knees, our knees, our ankles. There are lots of benefits in teas. And you might say, "Well, Ada, why did you want to talk to us about tea?" Well, I'll tell you in just a minute. It's the world's most popular drink, not Pepsi-Colas, not Cokes, not coffee, but tea is the world's most popular drink. Of course, we know its origins in China, and we know how India is right behind China when it comes to the second largest producer of tea in the world. And of course, here in the good old USA, we are known for our tea bags. We have to always do something different with it, our instant tea and our tea bags. And so I wanted to share this with you because if we're talking about all these ways we can take care of our mind, body, and soul, this is a simple and easy thing that you can do. Here are some of the benefits. It has less caffeine than coffee. Did you know that? Tea has less caffeine than your coffee. All you Starbucks people, it appears to have antimicrobial qualities to help fight off things, help your body fight against germs and inflammation and diseases. And it's good for your heart. And there's some teas that are really good to ward off cancer. And any tea is good. It doesn't matter if you steep it 5 minutes or a minute, it's good. So what I wanted to do was share with you a little bit about some of the different types of tea and how you might find some relevance in it. And I know you can't see this, but I have a larger chart over there, the types of tea, and I'm just going to walk you through some of them. And you know what? Can I get 2 helpers? If you all could take those purple bags and just let everybody get one. There are some tea things in there for you. We'll talk about this in a minute, but just take one of the bags. And I want to walk you through some of the different teas and their benefits. So green tea, and some of you I'm sure, do we have any tea drinkers in the house?
Yes.
Oh, good. Oh, so good, so good, so good. So green tea reduces your risk of cancer and heart disease. It promotes weight loss. Now, none of you in here have that problem. I do, but, green tea is really good for that. The oolong tea. Are you all familiar with oolong tea? Okay, well, oolong tea boosts that metabolism, keeps things going and flowing, and it improves your mental alertness. So oolong tea is really good. Then, of course, I know you're familiar with the chamomile teas. They reduce bloating, that swelling that we talked about, the headaches, the stress, the migraine, and it also boosts your immune system. And then there's the white tea. And I had a whole box of organic white tea, but it was nearing the expiration date, so I didn't want to bring it. So you have some other kinds of white tea in there. But white tea, ladies, put a star by that. If you can find your white teas, it has the highest antioxidant properties of teas. Try to get the pure white tea. It relieves stress, and it's very low in caffeine. So white tea is very, very good, particularly for those of us in this profession and the kind of work that we do. The black tea. You have heart issues, your cardiovascular health, drink you some black tea. It also regulates your blood sugar levels, if you have anyone who's, dealing with that. And the Kai tea, those are good. You can find them in all different flavors. They reduce that blood sugar level. Again, if you have somebody who's pre-diabetic or diabetic or dealing with that, get them on some black tea or some Kai tea, and it also aids in digestion and weight loss. The hibiscus teas, and these are your floral type teas. They prevent that hypertension. So if you're on some medication for your high blood pressure, consider some of the hibiscus teas. Also lowers that blood sugar level. The ginger tea, I know you're probably familiar with. I almost fixed myself a cup this morning because when I got up, my throat was so scratchy. But it remedies that nausea, your upset stomach, the bloating, the sore throat. Ginger tea is good for that. My husband likes to take the ginger root and use that. But I prefer the tea. So ginger tea is really good for those types of issues. And then there's the peppermint tea, which I know you're probably very familiar with as well. The peppermint tea is really good for upset stomachs, for those discomforts, the nausea, the cramping. The peppermint tea is really, really good for that. And then the matcha teas, and you can find them in different flavors as well. But that's your fat burning, the immunity booster, and it is also high in antioxidants. So teas can address a lot of those stress things. Remember the stress ball we saw back there on the other slide? Your teas can help address some of those issues that you're having. The jasmine tea, weight loss, helps with that, release stress, improves your immune system. And this is one you may not be familiar with, the Darjeeling's tea. This comes from a special place in India. It's packed with all those flavonoids and the antioxidants. And they pick those leaves at a certain time of the year. It promotes good heart health. And you can find these in some of your specialty stores like World Market, Publix. You don't have to shop around for them. But those are some types of teas. Now, I'm going to share, the reason I wanted to share this with you because I'm a member of the Pouring Tea Society. Yes, we actually have a Pouring Tea Society. And the lady here in the black, this is Viola Sanders. She's the president. She started this organization. Now, I thought I knew a lot about tea, but I'm going to tell you this lady, she is an expert. This is actually in her garage. She has turned her garage into a tea room. And these pictures really don't do it justice. This is when she had her ribbon cutting. But you see all these cabinets back here that go all the way around her garage? Guess what's in them? Teapots. But you go on a little tour when you walk in because she has all of this little stuff. It's just so beautifully arranged. And so this was at the ribbon cutting. Now this picture in the center, with COVID, we were doing our tea meetings on Zoom. So we still dressed in our hats and our gloves. We, did our teas. And the setting that I'm holding is one from my grandmother because she gave each of her granddaughters one of her very delicate tea settings, and I have one of them over here today. This was a tea tasting we did for one of my professional organizations, the National Association of University Women. And you can see we had all the teas from all the different countries, and they could go around and they could sample and choose the teas that they want after we gave them all the explanations of the different teas and what they do and what they're good for. And we had a tea testing there. And this is our young university women. They do a tea every year, and they blindly choose a color out of a bag, and then their table is a competition. And also a fundraiser for them, but then they decorate their table, and all of their foods have to, match that color that they chose. And then we have a set of judges who judge their table. So this girl had orange, this girl had green, this girl had white. But there's a set of rules that we look for when we're judging our tables. But this is introducing them because I remember as a little girl, my mother would always host teas. in the neighborhood, and that's how she taught us all a little etiquette and, you know, all those little things. And so I think a lot of times our girls are missing that. They don't. I had somebody call me and said, "Could you do a workshop on etiquette?" I need to bring the girls in my family. They just don't. And I'm saying, you know, well, you know, maybe. But that's when we learned all of our social graces, you know, by having our little teas. And so then this is the last one I was able to do at my church. This is in our Family Life Center. But since COVID, we've not been able to, our campus hasn't opened up all of the buildings yet. So, but this was the last one we did in 2019. And you see we have the different colors. It's a rainbow tea. And so that's how we had it decorated. Now I'm actually doing my tea on Saturday, on the 25th. Over at the Hilton Garden Inn. So I do have a ticket available. Somebody texted me today and said she can't come, so if you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you at our spring rainbow tea. But it's more of a social attire because this is not going to be a high tea where we're actually serving the tea. We're actually it's more of a social engagement for the ladies to wear their spring outfits, their hats and their gloves, and, you know, just have a good time. So, benefits of tea. Any questions or comments about tea and what it can do for you, Charlotte?
I inherited my grandmother's antique cups and saucers that she was from Washington, D.C. That's where my family hails from. So she purchased these, and they are pre-Occupy Jane.
Wow.
And I can remember growing up and her having an afternoon tea. And it was, I mean, I spent the summers with her. So I was just thinking that everybody grew up with that, you know?
Yeah, but not everyone did.
And then she would brew the tea, she had a teapot, and those antique saucers, cups and saucers. And she had little sugar cubes. And we dressed up.
Yes, you have to dress for tea.
Even if it was just she and I and maybe my sister. And she would invite a neighbor over. I just remember that.
Yeah, the teas are very something.
But you know, there's a story, oh my gosh, it was so old and knowledge about him. Sassy and tea cakes.
Oh, okay.
Who is
Yeah, because you serve the tea cakes and you come with sandwiches. That's what we have it on Saturday and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yes, the tea. I'm sorry.
We've lost, I was just gonna say, I think we've lost that.
That's why I try to keep it in
And
because
that,
it's important.
and infusing that into our day, it causes us to pause.
Right.
Just,
Just relax a little bit. What do the British do?
yes.
Yes, and so it's really while it is a social thing, but there's so many things built into that. And so when we think about the passionate part, because one of our objectives today was talk about how we serve with passion. Renew yourself. You've heard lots of suggestions. You've got lots of ideas today of how you can renew yourself. It doesn't have to be anything great and large, but something small. If you're just going to get out and walk every day, or you're going to turn that cell phone off. You don't do email between, 6 and, after 6 o'clock or whatever. But here again, you can delegate things or you can eliminate some things, okay? There are things in all our lives that we can let somebody else do. It may not be done exactly the way you want it done, but it'll get done. And there's some things you can just eliminate. You don't have to do them anymore. So think about that. Look at the big picture and find something that falls into one of these categories. And show what you know. When you're passionate about something, other people ought to know it. I hate when people say, I'm just a librarian. Don't ever let me hear you say that. You don't take that word just out of there. Yeah, because you are a powerful person. But show what you know. Don't be shy about bragging on yourself and sending your own article to the newspaper if your communications people don't do it. Or inviting them into your school. And I know we have a whole advocacy campaign through the organization. But yeah, show what you know. Get your newsletter out there to all the people outside. See, we do a good job of talking to ourselves, don't we? We do a really good job of talking to ourselves. But we need to let other people know. I do a newsletter for the neighborhood that I grew up in. of the Greenview community, and someone was telling me, oh, I went to this city council meeting the other day, and the first thing I did was I gave the Mayor Rickman, a copy of the newsletter. I said, well, good. Then she said, well, he turned and said, well, when you listed all of the city officials, he didn't see his name. I said, well, then you didn't give him the December issue, because I did an article on him. So, you know, let other people know what you're doing. Get it out there. Don't be bashful about it. Have your groupies. You got to have your people. Start with your students. They are your best advocates. And others that you can enlist. Other people you can bring in and engage in your library program. Make sure you're staying connected with them. My Richland One people know, I just tell them, email your newsletter to every school board member. Let other people know what you're doing, okay? And then when you really are having a bad day or a bad moment, go down to a kindergarten class. Oh my gosh. So much energy, so much excitement, so much anticipation. They're like little sponges. So when you're having one of those moments, just tip out, go down to a kindergarten class. You will be renewed by what you see there. Use your sick leave. I love my sister girl over here who said, I took a vacation this year. Okay, try to take 2 a year. Even if it's just walking down to the mall, consider it a vacation. But stop turning all your sick leave back in like somebody who's talking. But I never don't know because I never did. But really, ladies, we're in a different time now. Okay, y'all gotta take care of yourself. Okay, we're not growing our burdens fast enough to replace all y'all at one time. So use your sick leave. Take those mental health days, as the kids call them. Yeah, take care of yourself. That's your time. You've earned it. And you're worth it, as we said earlier. And doing what you're doing here, like coming to SCASL and other workshops. And my people know I've always told you to keep a sunshine file. What is a sunshine file? Get you a folder. I still keep a sunshine file. When you get those little notes, those little cards the kids drew, the little thank you note, drop them in your sunshine file. And when that administrator has just gotten on your last nerve, you just, excuse me, go to the office, pull out your sunshine file, and read some of those nice notes and comments. It will renew. Redecorate, rearrange your space, make it look different. Sometimes we need to just change things up. Think about colors. Color has a big impact. I just saw a study on one of the news shows the other day about color. Why are hospitals blue? You see a lot of blue in hospitals. Why? It's a cool color. You got to calm people down, because you want them calm so their bodies can be renewed. When you go to the children's wing of that hospital, you're going to see brighter colors. So color has a tremendous impact. And even lighting, I love the lighting in here. Sometimes bright light invites this kind of activity. Dim your lights down in the library sometimes, close the blinds. It changes the atmosphere of your space. And this is my favorite. Always have a big idea. You're going to stay passionate about this job. You have something out there you just really want to do, something you want to try, something different, this big idea you've got, and make it happen. That will keep you passionate about the job that you have elected to do. And of course, some things we have to let go. Gotta let it go. Get that stuff off your chest. Don't let it weigh you down. And here 2 quotes. Beyonce said, "Thank God I found the good in goodbye." Some things we just have to let them go. And then this one is anonymous. You are much more than you're settling for. You are important, like Viola said. You're kind, you're smart, you are important. You are. So in your little bag, open it up. And I stapled them, the pictures don't fall out. You don't hurt your finger on the staple. You've got a little library card catalog thing, which I found I couldn't resist mine. And you've got 3 tea bags in there. Now they're just in there randomly. So if you are not a tea drinker, give me my tea bag. But if you want to that will give you affirmation as you go through your career. Okay? And Gloria is going to tell us who the lucky winner is. All right? Oh, you shook. Oh, one more to add. Okay. Okay. And the lucky winner is last three numbers 150. Oh, okay. Come on, but I want you to open it so they can see what it is. It's just a little something to give you some positive congratulations. You like it, so now today you can say now you're all winner. Okay, show them what it says. So you got to look hope you enjoyed that. Okay, well thank you guys. I really thank you all. Best to you. Keep doing the good stuff you're doing. Rich, you want to take a picture? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. I got to do what you do. I got to get more sleep because I do not get enough sleep. Oh, thank you. Oh, your little teapot. These little teapots. Oh, thank you so much. Y'all hang in there. Okay. All right. Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, listen.
I love tea. I don't do caffeine.
Oh,
So,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
thank
okay.
you.
You are very
And
welcome.
I've done tea parties with my high schoolers. And yes, and they know I love tea, so I'm sort of especially peppermint. And so I have a water pitcher